Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive with us. This time, we're going to be exploring the fascinating world of labyrinths. You guys sent in some really intriguing audiobook excerpts, and I'm excited to dig into them and see what we can uncover together. To discover what labyrinths actually are, how they're different from mazes, and why people have been so drawn to them for centuries. Across cultures and time periods. It's a pretty amazing topic.
Yeah, labyrinths definitely have this kind of timeless appeal, don't they? It's like there's something about them that speaks to something deep within us, and I'm really looking forward to this deep dive to kind of peel back those layers and see what we can discover.
Okay, so first things first. When most people hear the word labyrinth, I think they probably picture a maze,
Right.
like all those twists and turns and dead ends. But I'm guessing you're going to tell us that that's not quite right.
Yeah, that's a really common misconception. But understanding the difference between a maze and a labyrinth is super important. If you want to really grasp the essence of what a labyrinth is all about. See, a maze is all about tricking you. It's like
Hmm.
designed to confuse you, make you lose your way. There are multiple paths, dead ends, and it's a puzzle to solve. Like, think about those cornfield mazes, right? It's all about the fun of getting lost, bumping into walls, trying to find your way out. But a labyrinth is a totally different experience. It's about the journey inward. It has one single path that winds to the center and then back out again. There are no tricks, no dead ends. It's a very intentional, meditative kind of journey.
Okay, wow. That's actually a really interesting distinction. It's like a maze is all about, using your head, solving a problem, but a labyrinth is more about the heart, you know? Like it's about the journey itself, not the destination.
Exactly. And I think that's why ancient cultures used labyrinths in some pretty profound ways. Like, the audiobook mentioned how they were used in burial ceremonies in Sardinia, going back like 3,500 years. What do you think those labyrinths might have symbolized?
Yeah, that's a great question. It makes you think about life and death and the whole cycle of existence.
Yeah, definitely. Death in many cultures, it's not seen as an ending, but as a transition, a passage into another realm. Maybe those ancient Sardinian labyrinths, maybe they symbolize that journey, like the soul's path to the afterlife.
And the act of burial itself, too, right? Like placing the body in the earth, kind of like a seed being planted for rebirth. It's like the labyrinth could have been a way of honoring that whole cycle of death and rebirth, a visual reminder that, life goes on in some form.
Right. It's like those cultures, even though they were thousands of years apart, they recognized something really powerful in the structure of the labyrinth itself. You know, a representation of beginnings and endings, like that cyclical nature of existence and how it just keeps going.
It's amazing how these themes keep popping up across different cultures and time periods, like the Anasazi Indians, for instance. They use labyrinths to symbolize their emergence into this world.
Exactly. Like they saw it as a representation of their journey from a previous world into this one.
Yeah.
It's like a universal symbol of birth and new beginnings.
And then you have the medieval pilgrims 800 years ago walking labyrinths as a substitute for the actual pilgrimage to Jerusalem, like that famous Chartres Cathedral labyrinth. Do you think they saw it as like a symbolic journey to the divine?
I think that's a really interesting interpretation. Remember, for those pilgrims, reaching Jerusalem, it was a huge undertaking, both physically and spiritually. It was about overcoming obstacles, testing their faith, and finally reaching that sacred destination. So yeah, the labyrinth, with its one path and that symbolic journey to the center, it could have been like a way to practice that pilgrimage
Mm.
in a more accessible way,
Hmm.
and definitely more contemplative.
Okay, so we've talked about labyrinth as journeys, metaphors for life, death, and rebirth. But the audiobook also mentioned something about the labyrinth being an archetypal map for the healing journey. What does that even mean?
Well, an archetype is basically a universal pattern or symbol that resonates really deeply within the human psyche. Like
Hmm.
think about common archetypes like the hero, the wise old man, or the mother figure. They appear in myths and stories and dreams across all different cultures and throughout history. And the labyrinth, I think, it acts as that kind of archetypal map for our own personal healing journeys.
So, are you saying that by walking a labyrinth, we're tapping into something universal, something that connects us to a deeper understanding of ourselves?
Exactly. It's about accessing that inner wisdom, that intuitive knowing that we all have, but often gets drowned out by, the noise of our everyday lives. The labyrinth, with its winding path and meditative quality, It gives us a space to quiet the mind and listen to that inner voice.
That reminds me of what Melissa West said about her early labyrinth walks, how she was so focused on doing it right that she almost missed the point entirely. And I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling of, uh, wanting to get it perfect, especially when you're trying something new.
It's totally natural to feel that way. But the beauty of the labyrinth is that there's no right or wrong way to walk it. The path is already there for you. All you have to do is follow it one step at a time. And just be present with whatever arises along the way.
Yeah.
It's about letting go of expectations and just embracing the journey as it unfolds.
Okay, so that makes sense. But how do those day signs fit into all this? Encountering those seemingly random things on the walk that suddenly hold a deeper meaning. It sounds a little mystical, to be honest.
Yeah, it definitely have that element of mystery, and that's part of what makes the labyrinth so magical. Day signs, as Melissa West calls them, they're like subtle messages from the universe, invitations to pay attention to the world around us and to those inner stirrings within us. They could be anything, really. A feather on the path, a bird singing overhead, a word that pops into your mind. The key is to be receptive, to ask yourself, what does this mean to me? What message might this be carrying?
So it's not about, overthinking it, but about just being open to those little nudges from the universe, right? Those whispers of insight that might guide us along our path.
Exactly. It's about trusting our intuition and recognizing that the answers we seek often reveal themselves in the most unexpected ways. Sometimes those seemingly insignificant details, they hold the most profound insights.
And you know what else I find fascinating? The idea that you can actually create your own labyrinth. It's not just about visiting one that already exists. Like the audiobook outlines 6 steps, but it really emphasizes that intention is like the most important aspect. It's not just about placing stones or, marking a path. It's about imbuing the labyrinth with meaning and purpose from the very beginning.
Yeah, that's a really crucial point. It's about approaching the whole creation process with reverence, with a sense of sacredness. Because you're not just building a structure, you're creating a space for contemplation, for healing, for connection with something larger than yourself.
And the audiobook also mentioned asking for permission from the space itself. That sounds a little out there. What's the thinking behind that?
It's about acknowledging the energetic aspect of the labyrinth. Recognizing that every place has its own unique energy and history. Like, think about it. If you were going to build a house, you wouldn't just start digging without considering the lay of the land, right? The soil conditions, the surrounding environment. The same principle applies to creating a labyrinth. It's about approaching the process with respect and sensitivity, and asking permission as a way of honoring the spirit of the place.
So it's like you're creating a harmonious relationship with the land, not just imposing your will upon it.
Precisely. And that same intention should extend to the labyrinth itself. Even before you start construction, visualize the labyrinth as a living entity, a sacred space that's going to hold the energy of all those who walk it.
I'm really starting to see how the creation of a labyrinth can be a deeply transformative experience in and of itself. It's not just about the finished product. It's about the intention, the energy, the connection to, to something bigger.
And that connection, it continues even after the labyrinth is built.
You're talking about tending the labyrinth, right? Like maintaining it as a meditative practice.
Exactly. It's not just about walking the path. It's about caring for the space, nurturing its energy and just being present with its rhythms. Think about like weeding the path, raking the gravel, replacing stones that have shifted. Each action can become a form of moving meditation, a way to connect with the earth and with your own inner stillness.
And just like with walking, you can also encounter those day signs while you're tending the labyrinth, right? Like those little details, like a particular weed growing or a stone that's out of place. They can offer insights too.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that the labyrinth is, it's a living, breathing entity that's constantly communicating with us if we're open to listening. Even the smallest details can hold profound meaning if we pay attention.
It's amazing how we've already uncovered so much depth in just this initial exploration of labyrinths. We've gone from mazes to ancient burial grounds to this idea of the labyrinth as a living energy. I can't wait to see what else we discover as we continue this deep dive. I have a feeling we're just getting started as we, keep going deeper into this world of labyrinths. I'm starting to see that it's not just about like the physical part of walking the path. There's so much more to it. So much intention and mindfulness involved.
Yeah, for sure. That's what makes labyrinths such powerful tools for personal growth. It's about approaching the experience with a real sense of purpose, like a willingness to listen to what the labyrinth might reveal.
The audiobook mentions how, like, setting intentions before a walk can actually shape the kind of guidance you receive. It's like setting a course for your inner journey. Have you ever experienced that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember this one time when I was facing this really tough decision, and and I went and walked a labyrinth with the intention of like gaining some clarity. And as I was walking, I noticed this little stone that somebody had painted a word on, and it just said trust. It felt like a direct message, a reminder to trust my intuition and just have faith in how things were unfolding.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. It's like the labyrinth was speaking directly to your situation. But what happens when you don't get those clear-cut answers? The audiobook also talks about those times when you walk away and you just feel like you got bogus answers, I think is how Melissa West put it. What's your take on that?
Well, I think it's important to keep in mind that the labyrinth isn't, it's not like a magic 8 ball. It's not going to give you like a yes or no answer to every question. Sometimes the messages are, well, they can be subtle, they can be symbolic. Sometimes they're even downright confusing. But I really do believe there's always something to be gained from the experience, even if we don't immediately understand it.
So it's about being open to the unexpected, to those moments when the labyrinth, kind of challenges our assumptions or maybe pushes us outside our comfort zones a little more.
Exactly. It's about letting go of that need to control the outcome, trusting that the labyrinth is guiding us in the right direction, even if the path seems a little unclear. Remember, sometimes those bogus answers, as Melissa calls them, maybe they're really just invitations to look a little deeper, to question our assumptions and be open to new perspectives.
Right, right. It's like those times in life when you think you know what you want, but then the universe has other plans. Sometimes you just need that little that gentle nudge, or sometimes not so gentle in a different direction. And it's interesting how those day signs we talked about earlier can play into that too, right? Like paying attention to those seemingly random details, a feather on the path, a bird singing overhead. Those things can offer clues along the way.
For sure, those day signs can be like little breadcrumbs, leading us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and those messages the labyrinth is trying to convey. It's about cultivating that sense of awareness, of being present in each moment,
Hmm.
and just being open to those subtle signs and synchronicities that we often miss in our busy lives.
Yeah, yeah. I'm also curious about ways to actually enhance the labyrinth walk experience. Like the audiobook mentions things like lighting, music, even creating altars. What do you think about that?
Yeah, those can definitely add another layer of depth and meaning to the experience. Lighting, especially if you're doing a walk at night, it can create a really magical ambience. Imagine walking a labyrinth under the stars with the path lit by like candles or luminarias.
Yeah.
It adds a sense of mystery and reverence that can really deepen the whole experience.
Oh wow, that sounds incredible. I can definitely see how those soft flickering lights would really enhance the meditative aspect of the walk. What about music? Any suggestions for creating the right kind of atmosphere with music?
It really depends on your own personal preference and the intention you're setting for the walk. Some
Mhm.
people find that Gregorian chants or other types of sacred music can create a sense of peace and tranquility. Others prefer more natural sounds like the rustling of leaves or the sound of waves crashing to help them connect with those rhythms of the natural world. And then some people just prefer silence
Yeah.
to allow for deeper introspection.
Okay, so it's about tuning into what resonates with you, creating a soundscape that supports your intention for the walk. What about those altars? I'm kind of intrigued by that, the idea of creating sacred spaces within the labyrinth itself.
Yeah, altars can be really powerful focal points within the labyrinth. Places to pause, reflect, and connect with your intentions. The audiobook suggests creating altars at both the entrance and the center of the labyrinth.
So the entrance altar, that would be like a threshold, right? Like a place to set your intention before you even step onto the path.
Exactly. You could place a stone there or a symbol that represents your intention, or just take a moment to pause, breathe, and center yourself before you start your journey.
And the center altar would be like the heart of the labyrinth, a place To kind of honor the insights and revelations that have come up during the walk.
Yeah, it's a place to celebrate your arrival, to express gratitude for for the journey, and just acknowledge the wisdom that you've gained. You could light a candle, offer a prayer, or just sit in stillness and just soak up the energy of the space.
I love that. It's like creating this sacred container within the labyrinth itself, a place to kind of amplify your intentions and just honor that transformative power of the experience. We've been talking about a lot of the internal benefits of walking a labyrinth, but the audiobook also talks about how it can help with creative blocks. Melissa West says it helps quiet that white noise of daily life and tune into your creative and intuitive signals.
It's true. The labyrinth can be really powerful for sparking creativity and unlocking intuition. Think about it. When our minds are constantly bombarded with, information and distractions and to-do lists, it's really hard to access that quiet space where creativity comes from. The labyrinth, with that rhythmic walking and the meditative quality, helps us slow down. Clear out the mental clutter and create space for those new ideas to come through.
It's like creating fertile ground for the imagination to flourish. The audiobook also suggests using affirmations during labyrinth walks. Is it something you've experimented with?
Oh yeah, definitely. Affirmations are really powerful for reprogramming negative thought patterns and just shifting into a more positive mindset. And combining affirmations with the physical act of walking a labyrinth can really amp up their effectiveness. It's like you're literally walking those affirmations into your being.
So like if you're struggling with self-doubt, for example, you might choose an affirmation like I am worthy or I am capable, and repeat that to yourself as you walk the path.
Exactly. And the labyrinth provides this really supportive environment for those affirmations to really take root. It's like you're surrounded by this energetic field that's amplifying those positive vibes.
And it's not just about overcoming negative beliefs, right?
Yeah.
The labyrinth can also be a space for dreaming new dreams, for envisioning what we really desire for our lives.
Yeah, for sure. It's about giving ourselves permission to kind of step outside those limiting beliefs about what's possible and embrace a more expansive view of ourselves and our potential. The labyrinth can be like a canvas for our imagination, a place to visualize our goals, our dreams, and the path that we want to create for ourselves.
It's like we're calling on the wisdom and support of the labyrinth itself to help us manifest those dreams into reality.
Absolutely. And once we've planted those seeds of intention, the labyrinth can help us stay committed to those dreams. We can walk with the intention of strengthening our resolve, releasing any fears or doubts that might be holding us back, and just aligning our energy with our desired outcome.
It's pretty amazing how the labyrinth can be both a space for introspection and de-action. It's about going inward to connect with our deepest selves, and then taking those insights and inspirations and bringing them back out into the world.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. The labyrinth is not a passive experience. It's about transformation, about using the insights that we gain to create positive change in our lives and in the world around us. And I think this leads us perfectly into the next part of our conversation. We'll be exploring the labyrinth's role in healing the heart and soul.
As we've been talking about labyrinths and their power to help us grow and heal, I keep thinking about this idea of connection.
Yeah.
Connection to ourselves, to each other, and to something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful observation, and it's something that Melissa West really gets into in this next part of the audiobook. She talks about the labyrinth as a way to tap into what she calls the great story.
The great story, huh? Okay, that sounds kind of interesting. What does she mean by that?
She's talking about that sense of interconnectedness, like that feeling of being part of something so much bigger than just our own individual lives. It's about realizing that our joys and sorrows, our struggles and our triumphs, it's all part of this grand tapestry, this story that's been unfolding since the beginning of time.
Yeah, I think I get what you mean. It's like when you look up at the night sky and you just like feel this sense of awe at how vast the universe is, or when you're standing in like a redwood forest and you just feel humbled by, the ancient wisdom of those trees. It's that feeling of being just a tiny part of something immense and magnificent.
Exactly. And the labyrinth, with its ancient origins
Yeah.
and that symbolic journey, it can help us access that sense of connection. It's like every step we take is like a step towards remembering our place in that grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and that remembering can be like really powerful, can especially when we're feeling, lost or alone or maybe just overwhelmed by life's challenges. It's a reminder that we're not alone. We're part of something so much bigger.
Absolutely. And it's not just about feeling connected to something abstract or distant. It's about recognizing that the labyrinth itself, it's this powerful archetype that's been resonating with humans for like millennia. We've seen those examples, right? From those ancient burial sites to those medieval cathedrals to modern day gardens and everything in between. The fact that it's lasted for so long, it just shows that it's tapping into something really fundamental, something that speaks to the depths of the human spirit.
It's funny, as you were talking, I had this image in my head of a group of people walking a labyrinth together, and each person represents a different thread in that tapestry of humanity, and
Mm.
and as they walk, their paths kind of intertwine and create this beautiful interconnected pattern.
That's a beautiful image. It really speaks to the labyrinth's power to foster a sense of community and shared experience. Walking a labyrinth can be this solitary practice, but it can also be a really powerful way to connect with other people who are also on their own journeys of self-discovery and healing.
Okay, so we've talked about connecting with that great story, with that feeling of being part of something bigger. What else really stood out to you from this part of the audiobook?
One thing that really resonated with me was the idea of the labyrinth as a kind of gratitude practice. Melissa West talks about walking a labyrinth and just feeling so grateful for all the people who walked that path before her, for all the wisdom and resilience they passed down through all those years.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful way to look at it. It's like acknowledging that whole lineage of human experience that we're tapping into when we engage with this ancient practice. And it's not just about gratitude for the people who came before us, right? It's also about gratitude for the labyrinth itself, like for that opportunity to step away from our busy lives and step into that sacred space.
Exactly. It's about appreciating that simple act of walking, breathing, just being present in the moment. And that gratitude it can extend outwards too. We can
Yeah.
walk with gratitude for the beauty of nature, for the love in our lives, for all those blessings that surround us.
I think it's also important to acknowledge that walking a labyrinth isn't always this profound or mystical experience. Like Melissa West even mentions how some of her walks have been, I think she said, prosaic or even boring.
And that's totally fine. It's good to remember that the labyrinth isn't, it's not some magic solution that's going to fix all our problems or give us these profound insights every single time we walk it. It's a practice. And like any practice, there are going to be times when it feels, easy and flowing, and other times when it's going to feel challenging or even frustrating.
Right. So it's about embracing the whole experience, the highs and the lows, the moments of insight and those moments of just quiet contemplation.
Exactly. And those times when it feels boring or prosaic, those can actually be really valuable too. They can teach us to let go of expectations, to just surrender to the process and just be present with whatever comes up.
It's interesting how she compares those dry spells on the labyrinth to those times in relationships or creative endeavors where things just feel kind of stagnant.
Yeah, that's a great connection. We all go through those periods in life where it feels like nothing's really happening. But often those are the times when we're laying the groundwork for something new to come into being.
It's like that saying, sometimes you have to slow down to speed up.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a perfect reminder as we wrap up our deep dive into labyrinths. We've covered so much, the history, the symbolism, the practical ways to use them, the personal journeys they can inspire. I hope you're feeling as inspired as I am. What's resonating with you the most from this whole exploration?
I think what really sticks with me is that idea of the labyrinth as this tool for connection, like we were talking about, connecting to ourselves, to each other, to something bigger. And it's a reminder that that the journey itself, it really is the destination. It's about embracing those twists and turns, trusting that we're always being guided, even when we can't see the path ahead.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we invite you to step into your own labyrinth journey, whether that's physically walking a labyrinth, creating one yourself, or just continuing to explore these ideas in your own way. We hope this deep dive has sparked some curiosity and wonder, and that you'll carry that wisdom of the labyrinth with you wherever you go.
Thanks for joining us on this fascinating exploration, everyone. We'll see you on the next episode when we dive into another captivating topic.